This time on Cuisineist Confidential, get your hands dirty and learn how to make New Mexico green chili pork Posole.
Or duck. Today we're going to use duck breast to make it. But this is just a twist, kind of a shortened version of a really classic comfort food style of a dish. This is something that would be, back before crock pots. This would still be kind of like a crock pot type of a family meal where I grew up down in the desert Southwest. So this is the type of thing that traditionally you'd go out and buy a big 10, 11 pound pork shoulder, and then you would fire up a big cast iron Dutch oven either in the house or outside on a burner somewhere. Kind of the whole family is gathered to hang out for Super Bowl or Thanksgiving or somebody's birthday party or whatever you're celebrating, and get a good sear on that shoulder, add a little chicken stock to it, put the lid on, and then just walk away and go do something else for a couple hours. Go ahead and get our onions in. All right, so there's that sizzle that we're talking about. All right, we're gonna saute these up. Now, when adding oil, if we're searing a piece of meat, it's a little bit different, but when you're cooking vegetables or even fruit, if you've got your pan properly preheated, you can get by with using a lot less oil than you might think. Really just enough to lightly coat whatever it is that you're cooking. And I'm not against oil. I love oil. I cook with it all the time. But it is something that is nutritionally is pretty dense, right? So a tablespoon of oil is like 120-ish calories, give or take. And for most of us, when we're cooking and not thinking about it, it's pretty easy to get a couple hundred calories in the pot before we even add in the food that we're actually going to eat. Poblano chili, right? Sometimes called a pasilla. So this is a green chili stew. Now you can get away with using a lot of different varieties of green chili, even canned. Canned works okay. There's nothing wrong with the canned chilies. It's just typically, anything that is pre-prepared in a can, a bottle, or a jar has some added goodies in it that maybe you didn't want to put in there, right? So added sugars, added salts, preservatives, things like that. I really love the Poblano chili for a couple of reasons. One is its fantastic chili flavor with its relatively low temperature, right? So this chili is a lot less likely than most chilies to be super hot, right? I mean, it still can be a warm, a spicy chili, but typically it's not. But you get this really robust chili flavor. Pepper at this point, so that it cooks onto the duck. And right? So I can get my gloves on here. So I'm going to add some cactus and some cactus pads. So we have two parts of the cactus today. We have some prickly pear and we have some nopali or cactus pad. I'm going for the cactus pad part, right? I'll show you how to clean that in a second. But first, we're going to start working on the shortcut, or the kind of the quick cheat for what we're making here, right? This is the part that we would never need to do if this was going to cook all day long. So if you've ever cooked, maybe you're cooking up beef sirloin tips or something, and you add a little bit of flour, or you're cooking up chicken, you add a little flour to coat to kind of thicken things up. I'm doing the same thing here, but I'm doing it with cornmeal, right? So I want kind of a corn flavor. We're doing Southwest, so I add enough of that to lightly coat, and that's going to help thicken things up. Adding in my liquid. So typically for something like this, I'd be going chicken stock. That'd be my first choice. Great flavor, very rich in texture, but definitely some additional calories in there. So if we're trying to make things taste really good, but we want to maybe reduce the calories a bit, a really good substitution can be vegetable stock, right? So it can be something you make yourself, something that is used pretty extensively in certain regions. It's also one that not a whole lot of neutral feelings about amongst the people that are familiar with it, right? So it kind of ranks right up there with cilantro. Some people love it, some people hate it. It neutralizes about 98% of the oxalate that's present there, right? So it really takes it out. Pretty much whenever I touch a cactus to work with it, I put on gloves because the thorns they're sneaky, right? So I'd much rather have the thorn in a glove than a tomatillo, right? But if we dip it in cold water, just, or warm water for that matter, within a few seconds, that sticky residue that is making the peel stick to it is dissolved. So it just peels right up. But this is something that provides great color and also great texture in a lot of different ways. As you stir it, it's going to gradually just cook down, and it's going to turn into a sauce. And then also some ground coriander, so the seed of the cilantro plant, right? And when I'm using cilantro, usually I like to add in a little bit of coriander seed as well, because cilantro is a little bit of roughly chopped cilantro, and we're going to add a pop of color here. So a little bit of shaved red cabbage. Now, with anything that I've chopped today, I've made a point to keep the tip of my knife on the cutting board, right, when I'm actually doing my chopping. And so this is a really good practice to get into, as opposed to something like this. When you're cutting, it's something that's going to leave you in a lot more control over your end result, how consistent things are. Every time you lift the knife off the cutting board, you have to be really good to get it to land like, it's the same distance apart from the last cut you made. Hot cheese, which is a dry, crumbly, lightly aged Mexican cheese. It's a little salty, a little sweet, flavor profile somewhere really similar to like a Pecorino Romano. So we've got this very savory component, which, by the way, I can almost guarantee that you've got cactus in your favorite grocery store, regardless of where you come from. It's in the Mexican food section, that wonderful aisle where they take all these great cultures and consolidate it down into their, greatest hits. Suppose this prickly pear here. So while the cactus itself is very bitter, the prickly pear, which is what actually makes this cactus famous, the fruit is very sweet, also really, really colorful. Right? So we want to either peel it or at the very least get the thorns off. So if we are making prickly pear syrup or prickly pear puree, we start by going out and harvesting several gallons of prickly pears using a pair of tongs, a pair of gloves, and like a 5-gallon bucket, 5 or 10 minutes, and just wash off all of the stray little tiny thorns of these pears. And then we take the whole pear, we don't peel it like I'm doing right now. We take the whole pear and we dump them into a big pot, cover them with water, bring it up to a boil, and then turn the heat off and let them steep for about a half hour. And then we scoop them all out of the water and we run them through a food mill. So a big hand cranked food mill, and what that does is it strips away all the pulp. Right, at that point, we've already cooked all the thorns off. It strips away all the pulp, and then it takes out the seeds that are inside of the cactus. So this is a lot like a guava, if you've ever had a guava. Pull it out whenever I need it. I brought a little out here today. And one of the interesting things about cactus, other than the fact that we're surrounded by it, is it's a very sustainable ingredient. Doesn't require really much of anything in the way of cultivation or fertilization. You can certainly do that and it will respond, but it's going to grow just fine even if you just leave it alone.
Until next time, Elaine Harris from Cuisineist Confidential.